Think of a time where you felt as though you weren't in control of your own body. Your mind races with wild ideas and your body jerks and spasms as though you were under someone else's control. Your illness takes you out into the streets and you realize that other people are feeling the same way. You won't stop. You want to stop. You won't, but you can't. And then you don't want to stop until you do. And unfortunately, when you do, it kills you from exhaustion. Are you hallucinating? Is it mass hysteria? Drugs or spoiled food? All you know is that you are now part of our world history called the Dancing Plagues. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Folkloric. So, yes, we're going to talk about the Dancing Plagues. How was your week, and have you had any woo-woo happen to you?
I have had no woo-woo happen. There's been plenty happening in the world.
Yes, there has been.
It's a terrible time for everyone.
It is a...
well, it's a terrible time for almost everyone.
It's a clusterfuck within a shitstorm.
True. That is true.
Encapsulated in a burning dumpster fire.
We have the Epstein files, which dropped and then were taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So they deleted them off the site because they kept mentioning Trump over and over, I guess.
Well...
So the government took them down.
Yeah.
And we had journalists arrested despite federal judges saying they cannot.
Yes.
They still did it anyway.
I did see a funny thing about with journalists. So sometimes they're so damn obtuse. And this guy's out there, and I guess he's trying to interview the protesters in Minnesota. And this woman, she comes out of nowhere, and she does not look like the type to be a ball buster, but she was busting his balls. She's like, "Look at you, big, tall man. Big, tall, smart. Are you a big, brave, smart, tall man?" And she just keeps saying stuff like this over and over and over again, just taunting him, and he's not able to ask his questions. And I'm like, brava.
That's what they call Minnesasa.
Yeah, that is. She's assassinator. I've worked with many assassinators in my life, and they're usually the sass masters and sass mistresses of the world, and I usually end up loving the crap out of them. So,
yeah. Nothing crazy has happened.
Nah.
I mean, I want some crazy to happen, but not this kind of crazy.
No.
Yeah, it would be nice to have some, I don't know, some assurance from the spooky side.
Yeah. Well, at the time of our recording this, tonight, if you live in an area that is getting some snow and you happen to practice the crazy things that I do, you can gather some storm water using, snow water, and it's a full moon. It's the snow moon.
Yeah.
So, yay. And that can be used in a lot of stuff because it's pretty turbulent.
Here's supposed to start anywhere from 11 to 4 a.m.
Yeah, so I mean, put a bowl out and just hope for the best.
Yeah. But that's what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Do some baneful magic. Trust me, no one's going to care. The people who care...
someone's going to care, but they're the ones affected.
Yeah, just, put up your protections and do some baneful shit and cause a ruckus, people. Cause a ruckus.
That's right. The left-hand path isn't evil. It's just the path not often taken.
Here's my little spout of why, when people judge me for practicing craft, you can tell me how awesome and peaceful Jesus was, but Jesus flipped tables. He chased tax men with whips. Out of the church. He was a vicious motherfucker because he didn't believe in people being treated unjustly and unfair. And you know what his biggest thing is that he himself was an immigrant and pushed and encouraged people to treat immigrants well. It is over and over again in the Bible. But
Sure.
the people who want to sit there and hate on immigrants are the ones who will spout
Bible quotes.
Bible
while they
quotes.
Do it. Yeah.
And how we need to turn the other cheek. No, we don't need to turn the other cheek. That just makes us weak. But Jesus flipped fucking tables. Bite me. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah. The dancing plagues. Now, I know not many people have heard of the dancing plagues. I only had heard about this a few years back.
So I have it listed as choreomania. What do you have?
I have Sydenham chorea, which is just another name for St. Vitus's dance. Yeah, there's a lot going on with the dancing plagues.
Yeah, it is essentially a dancing mania.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By plague, they mean it's endemic.
Well, yes. So let me go over the history and then we can go back and forth
Sure.
a little bit about, So I'm going to start with the biggest one, which is the Strasbourg dancing plague of 1518. But Michelle, 1518 seems so long ago. Weren't they ignorant?
It was just 2 days ago.
I mean, it kind of was. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's right now, but whatever.
Geologically. I like to use that a lot.
Yes, I know. It throws people off, too. They're like,
geologically, I'm an infant, so I still can't drink.
Astrologically, I'm astrophysicist.
I don't know what you're saying, but I agree with it.
Too many S's in that word.
I
Okay.
guess. You did a lot of hissing there.
I know. I'm
I'm
sorry.
afraid you're going to call a snake.
I'm so sorry. It's my parcel mouth. Strasbourg was part of the Holy Roman Empire at the time of the plague. And they were going through a lot of shit. They had the Black Plague that had run rampant through there. So they were a little, gun shy pre-gun with, the whole getting sick and dying.
A little spear shy.
Yeah, a little
maybe
spear
a little
shy.
bronze. Little bronze javelin shy.
Sword. Some swords.
Little sword.
Swords.
Tiny sword issues.
Yes. So it all started with Frau Trophia. And she came out into the street and just started shaking her groove thing. And people were like, oh, girl got it going on. But that's a bit much for
I don't think they were saying that.
No, they were going, okay, you do too much, girl. You just need to tone it down a bit. This is 1518. You trollop. No, they were just were kind of baffled by it because she would twist and twirl and just shake uncontrollably. And I'm sorry, if I see somebody who is coming out of their house and they are shaking uncontrollably and twisting and turning, I'm not thinking dance moves. I am thinking convulsions and seizures.
It's much like the same affectation of the jumping bean. They're not jumping, they're just jittering about.
Yeah.
But they're calling it jumping bean because it's, they're just using a very generic term.
True.
For it. And dancing would seem like it's dancing if you were to view it from a distance.
I guess so. Well, she kept up her little dance-a-thon and it was going on for a week.
Yeah, a little Jagger.
Yeah, I mean, she was dancing in the streets. You got to do the Grateful Dead version because it's so...
Oh, I don't know the Grateful Dead version. I only know the Dancing in the Streets video.
When they take out the music and it's just them going, hey, ha,
No.
It's funny as hell.
I don't know what you're talking about there, but no, with Mick Jagger.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
They take out the music and it's just them in the video. And they're making, it's so funny. I'll have to play it.
Oh, you
for
mean at the end?
No, I'll play it for you. It's
Okay.
funny. The Grateful Dead version is kind of disco-y, and that's why I kind of like it, which is really kind of an oxymoron in itself, but it is what it is. They were going through a thing at that time.
Okay.
So, yeah, a week is going by, and all of a sudden, there's another 36 people dancing from Strasbourg, sorry. And if I'm still saying that wrong, please yell at me in email.
I mean, you've already recorded this, so
Yeah, so
at that point, you're just.
But then I can come back the next recording and be like, I am sorry. I did not say that correctly.
So you just want to be yelled at
No, I just want people to interact.
by yelling at you.
Yes. So this started in July, but by August, there were at least 400 people easing on down the road. And I'm going to try to see how many music references I can put into this. But nobody really kind of knew what was going on. The physicians were calling it hot blood, and they needed to just simply dance it out. And that's smart. You know, you got people who are dancing, and you're going to just say, oh, yeah, no, it's their humors. You know, we got to let them dance it out. At least they didn't bleed them. And the town actually, they constructed a stage, and they hired a band to play music for these 400 people. And it backfired because quickly people were collapsing and they were exhausted, and some died from strokes and heart attacks. And there was nobody knew what the holy hell is going on here. So the episode didn't really fully end until September. The dancers were kind of like pushed on to dance at the top of a mountaintop shrine, and to pray for absolution. And that,
or probably just to get them away from town.
Definitely.
It's a very convenient excuse. I need you to go pray at that yawn temple.
Exactly. And I guess, you know, eventually everybody just either passed out from exhaustion or they did die, and they did stop dancing.
Sure.
But you would think that, you know, this can't be real. This is so stupid, because why would one person start dancing and the next thing you know, 400 people are dancing? And what is going on? What is causing this large group of people to all have the same aversions? Like they couldn't stand the color red. But in other ones, because this happens again, folks, and the ones in Italy couldn't be around the color black. So they had specific aversions to things. And this is like, just again, it's mind-boggling that this actually happened. And it wasn't the first time that it happened. And it definitely is not the last time.
Okay, well, let's talk about this one, though.
Okay.
So what about it to you speaks supernatural phenomenon?
So there's a lot. There is the aspect of, they believe that it was, because they call it St. Vitus's dance, which St. Vitus was a person who was martyred and became a saint. The reason why and St. Vitus is the patron saint of dance and chorea, not the country, but the sickness. But he was not a dancer. He believed in being up early in the morning, very, very active. But people in Germany, even though he was an Italian man, people in Germany had a statue of him, and they would dance in front of it every year for a celebration. And that became like the thing. So he became known for dance.
Okay.
So that's kind of supernatural, where a lot of times they're thinking...
They believe it was a curse?
They believe it was a curse, or they believe that was... that he was, you know, that they were being too sloth-like.
Sins.
Yes,
the sins
they go
were
back to the sins.
Yes.
But then there is the supernatural aspect of being possessed. They don't know. Some people were saying that these people were possessed by demons, and they were just dancing, and this was their retribution for some slight that they, you know, the karmic retribution in their life.
This segues me directly into making the one comment that I'm going to make about Buffy the Vampire Slayer on this show, or at least that I know
episode,
of.
at least.
This episode, in which the former name of our other podcast, which is Cozy Quilt Cinema, is named Once More with Feeling, which is the episode name, Season 6, Episode 7 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, in which a demon uses his powers to force people to dance, to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a musical.
Yes.
And that was his contribution.
Yes.
So what would cause this thing? Did they have like it's one thing that's causing it, like slovenliness, or was it just whatever you may personally be afflicted of?
Because again, while the records of this happening are pretty extensive, there's no real explanation as to what caused it. Just the beliefs of the people who were in the area at the time. And again, you're going to get that, especially when you get to some of the other plagues, which I'll touch on. People believe that it was definitely karmic retribution for some sinful slight. You know, that they just they weren't being good peoples and things got bad.
Well, so my take on this, and then what I've researched and found out, or not found out, this is all supposition.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows.
Again,
for sure.
no one knows for sure.
Is that this was a mass psychogenic illness?
Mm-hmm.
It was a mania, much like the chorea mania is what it's called, which is just dancing mania. And most of them, like John Waller, historian, argue that this isn't a physical toxin, but it was just a psychological contagion.
It's funny that you have literally, I looked at my page and it's John Waller underlined.
Yeah.
I mentioned him a lot.
So in Strasbourg, they were suffering from extreme famine at the time, crop failure, and syphilis outbreaks.
Oh, now syphilis can cause madness.
Sure,
yes.
But it's important to know that these stressors were on the populace.
Mm-hmm.
So under that collective stress, the human mind can manifest all kinds of physical symptoms.
Oh, yes.
And because the local culture believed in this curse of St. Vitus or whatever it may be, I don't know if they called it a curse.
But they didn't. I mean, I guess maybe some did, but not all of them. I know I saw it written in some of my research.
Right. But their brains essentially downloaded that specific behavior as a way to express that trauma. Unto even death in some cases, mainly from exhaustion, or probably a lot from dehydration, which they don't mention in this. But obviously, if you're dancing all the time, you're sweating in the heat, you're not.
It is summertime.
So MPI spreads through line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing others succumbing to it just causes them to want to join in. It's part of our herd mentality as human beings. We all want to fit in, whether we realize it or not. That is one of those things that is mass hysterias happen all the time.
Yeah.
This is another instance of that. It became probably somewhat celebratory.
At first,
but also,
probably.
They couldn't stop themselves once they start because then you're locked in.
Oh, yeah. And some of these plagues, these dancing plagues, get a little freaky. I have Waller stating that, like you said, it's a combination of the famine and the horrors of past disease combined and current disease, because I didn't see the syphilis, but that makes so much sense that we're going through this town, and with the superstition of St. Vitus would definitely cause this, the stress-induced kind of hysteria. It's just, it boggles my mind that, I guess because I don't think like the crowd. I've never been the person who went along with the crowd. And to me, this is like a joiner type of a thing.
Sure, but you've seen it in action, even if you don't realize it. You've seen churches participating with each other.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen people in churches speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
And it's a competition. And it's, as an atheist who went to church a lot, it always confounded me that people would do this. They would just all start speaking in tongues, and you knew it was an obvious plea for attention and to be clapped on the back because you
were
spoke in
doing
tongues,
it.
right? And they competed with each other. That it seemed disingenuous. But I am sure they felt very genuine
Mm-hmm.
in it. And I'm sure they felt very justified in speaking in tongues or whatever it was they were doing. But it was a mania of a sort.
Yes.
It's a mania they could stop, of course, but they participated in something that is outside the norm of their usual.
Yes. So in 1374, so we're going to go back a bit, there was the dancing mania. And this was not a new disease, not a phenomenon that was actually known. So in 1374, there was the dancing mania. And it was a phenomenon that the people of the Middle Ages were actually very familiar with at this point. And so many like traditions and cultural beliefs came from a lot of these earlier manias, these dancing manias.
So, yes, in 1374, that is the Aachen outbreak
Mm-hmm.
that started in Aachen, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And this was shortly after the Black Death. So keep in mind, a lot of people died. So many people died from the Black Death
Yes.
that anything out of the norm was going to cause panic.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of people were seen screaming about visions and dancing until they fell unconscious and foaming at the mouth.
Yes.
So the leading theory here, though, is ergotism, which is caused by the fungus Claviceps purpurea. Hey, I said it right.
Yay.
That's
maybe.
crazy.
Assuming I say it right.
So this fungus grows on damp rye,
Mm-hmm.
and when ingested, it produces ergot,
Ergotamine.
alkaloids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's chemically related to LSD,
Yes, it
as any
is.
drug person knows, which
Yes,
I
it
don't,
is.
but other people do.
Been there.
Ergotism causes convulsive symptoms, including painful seizures,
Mm-hmm.
spasms, hallucinations. It also causes like gangrenous symptoms, like constricting blood flow,
Hmm.
and it leads to a burning sensation in the limbs. Hence the name that they gave it, which was St. Anthony's fire.
Oh, okay.
Not St. Elmo's fire. That's a different thing altogether.
Yes.
That is where you grow up too fast, but you want to be a kid again. This is this is St. Anthony's fire, much different, much more painful.
Okay.
Not emotionally.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna
definitely
make an Elmo reference, but I
I
couldn't.
don't know why you would.
I couldn't get Mr. Noodle in there very coherently.
But while it does explain the hallucinations and spasms, scientists really doubt that it caused the 1518 plague because ergotism usually makes it physically impossible to dance for days
No, and this was months.
due to the loss of circulation in the feet.
Mm-hmm.
So either this was something very specific and perhaps their own anatomy, perhaps something in, like in different regions, people react differently to different drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that is what may be causing that. It's still ergotism.
Yeah.
It's just not our typical cases.
Well, it's funny. I remember many years ago reading in a book about the Salem witch trials, and they talked about how they believed, and I think it's been disproven, but at the time, the theory was that it was ergotamine poisoning that caused the girls to hallucinate and basically take the stories that Tituba was telling them, and they would hallucinate, and that's why they would like freak out and accuse people of witchcraft. Was
Right.
the hallucinations from the ergotamine, which explains because they were sick too, so they were in bed a lot. But I think they disproved that theory. But the it's funny because like I had those notes for all of that, but they were all below.
Okay.
So in 1237, and this is where you're going to be very familiar with this story, my friends, the city of Erfurt,
Erfurt.
of about upwards of 100 children just suddenly started dancing. And they jumped around and they hopped around. Once again on the road to Arnstad. And that name comes up about
Stad.
Arnstad. Arnstad. It's like I can't. I have a hard time with that, but you can't say the back of the mouth thingy. So I mean, we fight with that. So
I'm good at front of the mouth. You're good at back of the mouth.
So
makes eating chili very interesting.
When they got to Arnstad, which is where they were heading, they fell to the ground exhausted. A lot of them some died. A lot of them, when they were taken back home, they died then. Some of them had broken ribs. And this is another common thing, is a lot of the survivors of these manias, plagues, whatever you want to call them, have lifelong health issues,
disabilities.
Yeah, I don't want to say disabilities because I don't know how severe in some cases, but they have lifelong issues. Let's put it that way.
Okay, medical issues. Sure.
Yeah, like chronic.
Let's do that then.
Yes. So again, and we can keep going backwards. This is the one I thought was pretty interesting, and this one is where they kind of blame the evils of the people. They felt like this was karmic. In 1278, and I'm going to not say this name right either, Utrecht?
Utrecht? Yeah, sure. Sounds good. If you just make it sound German, you'll be fine.
Again, we're getting the month of June. A lot of these things seem to happen in the summertime as well. And 200 of these dancers, these people who are just dancing, were just all in this town, and they go to the Moselle Bridge. And a priest was actually bringing I don't know what the relevance is of this, but he was bringing host to a sick person I guess they give them their rites or whatever, communion. And when he gets to the bridge collapses, and pretty much almost everybody was drowned. And the ones who did survive, again, lifelong chronic issues.
Right.
We can go even farther back.
Not further.
1047. Once again, this was near the convent church of Kolbig. And it's not too far from Bernburg.
Right.
Okay. I'm not really good with German words. And a lot of these do take place in Germany. That's what kind of killed me too, is why is it in this one region?
But I think what you're seeing is it's taking place in this area or in Germany a lot because they documented it.
They did document it.
Documenting things or having an oral tradition outside of written language makes it much harder to pass it down.
Well, also, and if you want to go with the whole the ergotamine, the rye, hallucinations, is rye grown heavily in Germany as opposed to?
Oh, absolutely, it is.
I mean, that could be a key.
I mean, that's and
again, these are taking place in the summertime.
Beers, rye breads,
yeah. And I'm not saying the rye doesn't grow in other places, but we're talking about. This is the Dark Ages, folks. This is the Middle Ages.
Cultivated.
This
cultivated.
is where these.
Agriculture has brought on a lot of good things, but there are a lot of bad things too. Improper storage, stuff like that can cause all these issues.
And if there is a famine, people are going to be eating the dregs, and the dregs are the ones that are going to have the most things wrong with them. If you have ever been poor and hungry and you find that piece of cheese in the fridge, there's a good chance you're cutting off a big hunk of it because it's got some fuzz growing on it, but you're fucking hungry. That's probably very similar to what was going on here, assuming that it was the ergot. I keep calling it ergotamine because that's what I was taught, but it's not necessarily what it's called. So it keeps coming around. And so this literal group of peasants, they go to this convent church of Kolbrig, and it's during a Christmas Eve service, and they start dancing and brawling, and the pastor comes out and he inflicts upon them a curse that they should dance and scream for a whole year without ceasing. The curse is supposedly it fulfilled itself, and they danced for a year. They actually were like, they would like dig themselves into the ground, supposedly, like to keep themselves in one spot while they were dancing. And it's just some weird shit. But it came to an end because of two, quote unquote, very pious bishops that were not named. And it just, people, again, it ended the same way. People were exhausted. They died. They had either broken bones, broken ribs. They had strokes and heart attacks because you cannot push your body to this extent without having any repercussions. It's almost like not sleeping.
So this is an interesting part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It seems similar.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing to remember about 1021 is that during the winter, they were all together.
Mm-hmm.
They were all grouped up together.
And there would
Much like the Vikings, you find a big house, you group up.
Yep.
You don't go individually. Oftentimes they're collected in central areas so that they can
stay warm,
so that they can share bread, everything else. But here's the thing.
It negates the whole summer thing for me because it's winter.
So one of the issues is they did not understand communicable diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And priests coming out and saying things is a great story because it sounds really great because they came out and they cursed them, and that's the power of God. However, it could just as easily been that priest who gave them the disease that they spread around, and they believe it may have been streptococcus. Strep throat. So the body's immune system mistakenly attacks the basal ganglia in the brain.
Yes.
And the symptoms end up being like this rapid, jerky, involuntary movements of the face, hands, and feet. And to the uneducated medieval observer or the very religiously inclined, a group of children or young adults twitching and dancing uncontrollably would look exactly like a divine curse.
It would.
Especially if they all caught the same strep infection and had been harboring it until Christmas. So this is one of those things that I think people forget because now we have all these luxuries. We do not have to house together.
No.
We do not have to do these huge community things together. And even if we did, we have vaccines.
Exactly.
We have protection and we have advanced medicine. They didn't have any of that. And they weren't prepared for these events. And plus you add in the religious aspect where they kind of don't want you to seek medical attention. They want you to get divine favor. So the last thing they thought was a medical issue. What they thought was, I cursed you. See what I did?
Yeah.
You know, noticing one person twitching and stuff and you start cursing people, it's very easy to do that after the fact. That's like me saying, I know everything about Lost because I waited until after the series to talk about it.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, because you already know about it. You read everything, you read up on it.
Yeah.
So it's not you predicting something. It's not you cursing them. It's you seeing a bunch of people twitching and then cursing them.
Yeah. There were a couple smaller outbreaks. They were not as far back. 1428, there was a monk who danced himself to death, and also a group of women in Zurich who had reportedly went into a dancing frenzy. This, it's you see it happening, and I'm not sure how you would react again, especially when you are looking. And I, if you know me from our other podcast, I tend to say, looking through it with a historic lens. And sometimes I do have a hard time doing that because I'm sitting here going, if I saw people, just hundreds of people who start dancing, I'm keeping my ass inside in the house because I'm going, it must be some type of zombie apocalypse happening and I ain't getting involved in that shit. I've already got a game plan and I'm going to follow it through.
And we have too many windows.
We do have too many windows. This is 2 on the ground and we have too many windows.
That's right. We have an alternate route.
Yes. So I can't imagine what they were thinking. And again, trying to look through that lens of well, okay, lack of modern knowledge, I have to cut out a lot of the things I know, technology, hygiene, blah, 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 blah. And I see 400 people come dancing down the street. How do I react? I lock the doors. I slam the shutters closed because it's a zombie apocalypse and I ain't getting involved in that shit.
True.
So it's just, unfortunately, I don't know how else to look at it. Gregor Horst, he was a professor of medicine during the 17th century, and he is quoted as saying, and I'm going to screw up a lot of the words he says, y'all, several women who annually visit the Chapel of St. Vitus in Dreffeldhausen, said that wrong, but we're going to go with it, dance madly all day and all night until they collapse in ecstasy. In this way, they come to themselves again and feel a little something or a little nothing until next May. And then they do it all over again. And this is kind of forced around St. Vitus's day. And they, I kind of broke off in my quote on that one because I kind of lost my trail of thought where I was going. But regardless, these women, some of them they did it like every year for like 20 years and one for a full 32 years. That's some crazy shit that you do this every single day. John Waller, he compares the 1374 and 1518 outbreaks that they varied in several characteristics that were recorded and that they occurred while they did generally occur in times of hardship. Tens of thousands of people would appear to dance for hours, days, weeks, or months. And people like the women who were portrayed in modern like literature as the usual participants of these dancing manias, usually that's not true. They seem to be a lot more men who were doing this than there were women.
Right, but it's easy to put that onto women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because hysteria, histo.
Right.
Yes. And if you know your medical terminology.
Women are just so emotional.
If you know your medical terminology and you understand the etymology of words, then you know where I'm going with this. And if you don't, here's a little bit of a lesson. Histo is medical term for anything related to your uterus. And when women, especially during the Victorian era, when we were having some, depression and stuff, they would label, they would label us as quote unquote hysterical or having hysteria, which is basically an issue with your uterus that's making you go crazy. So I have a little issue with the word. So yeah, they're blaming it on women to a certain degree. Oh, well, the women, it's in a frenzy. The dancers also seemed to be in states of unconsciousness and sometimes are unable to control themselves. Robert Bartholomew, he's a social researcher. Like he did research on the phenomenon of the dancing plagues. And he says that a lot of the contemporary resources that record the participants often didn't even reside where the dances took place.
Right.
That they would, people would travel from place to place, which communicative disease, and they would join along the way, or that, they would just join along the way. And you get a whole group of total freaking strangers who no longer know where they live anymore dancing, but they're incoherent while they're doing it. The dancers, according to Bartholomew and his research, they tended to wear, quote unquote, strange, colorful attire and held wooden sticks. The better to beat you with.
I think the better to probably walk with because of the crippling diseases.
Probably. They would wear like garlands in their hair. It was like very festive. It was a thing. It was Coachella before Coachella.
and I think, that probably
the right amount of drugs
is an example of that hysteria.
Though not all of the outbreaks did involve foreigners, but some of them, and what I thought was funny too is that sometimes they would just strip naked and have sex while they're doing all of this, because it was recorded apparently that some people would act like animals. They would hop around and they would jump around, and some of them would strip naked and some people had sex.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, again, it's in that, well, that's why they're cursed.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, that's why they were cursed, is because they were doing
But
this
they're
or that.
incoherent enough to not even be fully aware of what they're doing. And if they are being animalistic, they're reacting on a base level.
Were they doing that, or were they just reporting it because that made better curse material?
Well, I mean, and that's a good chance of that as well. So I mentioned how some of them couldn't, quote unquote, perceive the color red. Like it was just, it would bother them. But when we get to Italy, like I said, it's the color black. Some people couldn't stand pointed-toed shoes. And you know what? I can get behind that. I'm really into
They're very uncomfortable.
I like my barefoot shoes with the big box toe, and I am not mad at that. So nobody wants cramped toes. You know, those toe beans got to flow. But they would have, chest pains, convulsions, hallucinations, hyperventilation, epileptic fits, visions, and in the end, mostly just dropped dead from exhaustion.
Or from a complete lack of treatment.
I mean, well, there's that too. But they also noticed that it would affect families. Because again, communicable diseases. If I get a cold from my Cootie Platoon classroom, there's a good chance Beth is getting it too.
Oh, I'm getting it.
If I come home with a tummy problem from my Cootie Platoon classroom, Beth is getting it too.
Yeah,
So,
it's not really fair.
No, it's not. So in Italy, a very similar phenomenon was happening, but they called it tarantism.
The Legend of the Red Shoes.
Yes and no, not there yet. Okay. So, because I have that for my fictional part of it. So, the victims of tarantism were poisoned by either a tarantula or a scorpion.
Wolf spider.
Well, yeah. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. Because when we're in the 13th century and people are supposedly getting bit and they would tell them to dance to separate the venom, from the blood. Because that makes about as much sense.
I mean, also that the bite itself is medically insignificant.
And then again, it happened during the summer months. Because again, why the hecky not? And the dance was often perceived as, like it would affected those who were actually not just bitten, but were believed to be bitten. And sometimes when they would say, hey, were you bitten by a spider? No, but I saw somebody who was bitten by a spider. And that's why I'm doing this dance.
Well, it gave them a ready excuse to do so.
Oh, yes.
So it's kind of like the Salem witch trials, in which it kind of ballooned because people saw it as a way to get back at someone.
Yes.
This became a reason to dance because you were highly restricted on what you could do, especially women. Mm-hmm. Highly restricted on how you could act and what you could do.
Yes.
And in this case, you could say, I got bit by a spider and dance your ass off.
And in this case, there were more women than there were men. But what I thought was funny, it wasn't even just about, I saw a person who said they were bitten by a spider. Oh, well, I was bitten by this spider 5 years ago, and now I feel the need to boogie, So the dancers would perform a tarantella. And tarantella is a dance that is kind of all leggy and spidery, but it was supposed to, quote unquote, cure them, but only temporarily. Some people would tie themselves up with vines. Others would pretend to sword fight. Some would drink large amounts of wine and jump into the sea. So none of this made much sense of what this was causing, but it was giving them, they would have headaches and trembling, twitching, the visions. It's the same as the other manias when it came to a lot
of wine. Yeah.
A lot of wine. So they did, like I said, they did not like the black color black, and more women were affected than men were. So, unlike the dancing manias of the northern part of Eastern Europe, that made sense.
Sure.
In Southern Europe, Tarantism was kind of confined to Italy. It was just it kind of stayed there, and it was common for that to happen all the way up until 1959.
Wow.
And it kind of just suddenly stopped. A history professor, Ernesto Di Martino, he said that most cases of the Tarantism were obviously not related to spider bites, and that many of them admitted that they hadn't even been bitten. But it did cause a mass panic for a bit. But it did allow people to behave in ways that were prohibited at the time.
Well, and also black, the color black in Italy is synonymous with death or with funerals.
Yes. Mourning clothes. Yes.
Right. And therefore, it's an obvious reason to be against that. But you also get to dress however you like.
Yes.
Because you got bit by a spider.
I'm going to dress like a crazy.
Yeah. So you can dress however you like.
Yes. So,
which is, I think, a coping mechanism for being in a very repressive society.
Yes.
So, yeah, that makes sense.
So, do you have any ideas of why some of, other than what you've already mentioned, why some of these outbreaks happened?
More than what I've already said?
Yes.
Witchcraft?
Okay.
Did you do the witch laugh?
I didn't intend to. So there were a lot more events like these that happened in into Switzerland, and in during the 16th century, and from 1973 until 1978, there were 6 outbreaks of a kind of dancing plague in factories located in Singapore. The workers were they would have screaming, trance-like states and unprecedented levels of fear.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that's related to dancing. But if you think that's just all ancient history and recent history, in 2011, the dancing plague occurred at the Leroy Junior High School in upstate New York. 12 teenage girls began twitching as though they had Tourette's syndrome. So all the people who looked at it, they said that there was no source of an infection or poisoning. And they did conclude that it was mass hysteria or a mass psychogenic illness.
That's the TikTok tics,
Mm-hmm.
which is, it happened during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So heightened social issues because everyone's freaked out. A lot of people are dying.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stressors on children
Yes.
who are not used to dealing with this at all. And suddenly their world has been turned upside down. Parents, adults had trouble reconciling with the pandemic.
Yes.
And they acted out in a great many ways that still affects us today. But the children or younger people had no basis for this at all. So they didn't know what to do. And yeah, they've got all this social media. So they have all this contact, but no context.
Mm-hmm.
And all they know is what they're telling each other.
Yes.
Which you know as well as I do. That's like learning sex on the streets. You're not going to know what the hell is happening. So yeah, I can see that. It's, social media induced movement disorder is what it's called.
Yeah. 2011, I can't really think of what was happening then that would cause that to happen other than social media in general. But yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about, the 20.
No. I know what you're talking about, but I'm trying
to
to think about the one in upstate New York, what could have caused this? Because they really couldn't find anything that was causing it.
Well, now remember in 2011 or during that time or in that area, there were a lot of things happening in social media. One of them being the Slender Man. There were a lot of things that are just part of children telling each other things and believing them
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. So you're going to enter those areas that are nebulous and probably have no answer.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever did any actual investigations into this beyond just asking the children involved.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. So the red shoes. So let's get into the fiction aspect of it. You said the legend of the red shoes. Are you talking about the Hans Christian Andersen?
Yes, the folk tale that features a girl cursed to dance in red shoes until she dies, or in some cases has her feet amputated.
Yes, and there is a movie, and I believe it was in the 40s, and called The Red Shoes, and it is about a ballerina who she's going to dance the red shoes. It's a coveted role. There's a lot of intrigue. It's a love story, but it's not a love story. It's a very good movie, but they show her performing the dance in the play that she is in. And she is wearing these red toe shoes, and she is just swirling and swirling and swirling. And you can tell that she's fraught at that moment. It's the heightened of the apex of the whole of the movie itself. And to have that there, I highly recommend it if you like old movies.
I didn't delve too much into the fiction.
Okay, so
I knew about that one just because I knew about it.
So the origin of it is, a girl named Karen. Do you like butter tarts? Sorry.
Oh my God.
I don't know where.
I swear, I thought that group was from Boston. They're from Canada.
Because he says butter tarts.
I know.
That should have given a giveaway.
How would I know? I don't know what Bostonians call butter tarts. I bet they say butter tart.
So she's adopted by an old, wealthy woman after her mom dies. And she becomes enamored with a pair of red shoes that she wears all the time, wears them to church, even though her adopted mother tells her that it's improper. One of my children had red shoes, and we called them their boogie shoes. They're red patent leather Mary Janes, and it was their favorite pair of shoes. And so a soldier...
Which is oddly appropriate, the boogie shoes.
Yeah, well, because my mom would sing boogie shoes when they would wear it. Okay. So
I go with Sports Night.
Oh,
because
okay.
they sing Boogie Shoes in one of the episodes.
No, my mom was a big Casey and the Sunshine Band fan. So there was a soldier with a red beard, and he curses the shoes, saying that they will never stop dancing. And Karen is unable to stop dancing. And she misses her adopted mother's funeral so she can attend a ball and wear these shoes. So the
soldier's just being a dick.
I know. So the shoes force her to dance endlessly, and then she asks an executioner to cut off her feet, but the shoes continue to dance with her severed feet. So after repenting and showing her true humility, an angel appears, and she is granted peace and salvation, and with the church coming to her in her humble room. So basically, there's a moral of spirit, the stark lesson of vanity and disobedience and the importance of humility and spiritual grace.
That's the role of patriotism.
Wah, 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 wah.
I say patriotism of patriarchy.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
So
this is about the patriarchy keeping women in their place by using religion and stories, as a way of doing so. Fear mongering.
Exactly. And if you remember earlier when I said the story might sound familiar with the children dancing, it is the inspiration for the Pied Piper of Hamelin.
Absolutely.
Now there is some controversy on whether or not this actually happened, because supposedly it was a true story. And there used to be a stained glass window that was in the church that depicted it happening, but it broke and was destroyed, and they've replaced it with the window that actually has the Pied Piper and the Children of Hamelin. So,
I mean, if it is true, it just shows that the town itself is
got some problems,
foolish, and also greedy, in that they did not pay the Pied Piper when they should have.
So,
I mean, they paint the Piper as
the
the
bad
bad
guy,
guy.
but he just wanted his due, man. He
right,
did the job.
and he warned them.
He said, yeah. They no, never.
Follow your contracts, people.
If Woody had gone to the police, this would never have happened.
That's true.
It is such a good quote.
But here's the thing, though. The Pied Piper, if they were Fae and you break a deal with them...
Oh, you're lucky that's all they did.
Then, yes, of course that's going to happen.
And they're going to take your kiddos. So, if you don't know the story of the Pied Piper, here is a brief summary, which means it will not be brief.
Brief summary.
He's called the Pied Piper or the Rat Catcher of Hamelin, and he is obviously the title character. And Hamelin is in Lower Saxony, Germany. The story dates back to the Middle Ages, and the earliest references describe him as dressed in multicolored clothing, pied, and who was a rat catcher hired by the town to lure the rats away using a pipe or a flute of some sort.
Right.
He did his job. He and they all follow him out of town and da-da-da-da-da.
I always thought it might be a piccolo, but I actually think it may be a pan flute.
I was going to say, to me, I picture a pan flute. And so he...
well, as a kid, I always pictured a piccolo or a flute, a literal flute.
The only problem with the pan flute is then I also picture him with goat legs. So that kind of defeats the...
But that could have been entirely possible.
Oh, totally could have been. He's a satyr. What was he doing so far north? He was probably wearing pants, though, because it was probably cold.
Yeah.
Okay. So his backwards knees. And so they said, no, you got rid of the rats. We're good. We good, right? Yeah, we good. And he's like, no, we not good. No, you owe me money. And I want my money. And they're like, yeah, no, there's no rats. So we don't, you buy. Okay, bye, love you.
Okay, you're summarizing so much. I'm not sure you're using words
I'm
anymore.
not. But yeah, so the whole town was pretty much going, love you, bye. And he was like, yeah, no, I warned you that you don't pay me. Literally, you got to pay the piper. It says it on the can right here, pay the piper. And his due. And this is my due, and you got to pay me. So now I get you kids. And so he plays this little flute or panpipe or whatever the heck you want to call it. And he and all the kiddos start dancing, and people were like, not my babies. And he's like, yeah, well, I warned you bitches. And he toodles them out of the town. And
I don't think that's in the story. I'm going to disagree there. I don't think he said that. I warned you bitches. I want to see that in the German.
So
is that in the original?
So this was written by many, many, many people, Brothers Grimm being one of them, because, me and my Brothers Grimm, we'd be like tight. And
don't know why you're
I'm so tired because I've had 2 hours sleep and I've been keeping myself awake all day so I would not be up all night.
So you would do this?
Yes. Robert Browning also wrote his version of the Pied Piper. And so basically, the phrase, paying the piper his due and just the Pied Piper, it has just kind of come together as this metaphor of sorts of a person who's following through with what basically karmic duty. You hired me to do this, or you asked me to do this.
Yeah.
Consequences suck, because you know what? Consequences, good or bad, they exist. And there are always consequences for our actions. And bitch was there. I mean, I get this. I like the Pied Piper. I really appreciate those, we have too many people in this world right now who are like, I didn't know that my choices were going to have consequences. Oh, well, honey, that's what we were trying to tell you from baby school and up. There are consequences, good and bad. Good consequences are yay.
Did you not listen to any of the G.I. Joes?
Oh, my Lord.
Maybe the more you knows.
The more. Now I got that in my head. But, and
what about Mr. T in the A-Team telling you that your actions have consequences?
Exactly. And every day I literally...
I just really specified our age group.
I know we really did. But no matter which age group I've worked with my whole entire life, from pre-K all the way up to 22-year-olds, that is the basis. kindness and consequences. We have consequences when we do good. We get accolades, we get treats, we get good grades, we get rewards.
We don't get syphilis.
We don't get syphilis. When we do bad, guess what? There's a good chance that you're going to get syphilis, but you're also going to get a bad grade, and you might not get a treat, and you might have things taken away from you, depending on the severity of your action. Will relegate the severity of your consequence. This story, obviously the children being taken, you're right. It could be a fae because, again, the fae
That's very reminiscent of what fae do. Is
Yes.
they take your children.
They're
right?
usually not so overt about it. They're a little bit more covert.
They made a deal.
They did make a deal.
You bust a deal, you face the wheel. That is a fae tradition. Also, Thunderdome tradition.
So, and while the town of Hamlin in 1284 was rat infested, and they did promise, I don't know if the Pied Piper was real, but this was an issue, and that in itself, assuming that this town of Hamlin this story within is definitely inspired by the actual events that happened, that it makes sense that if there was a rat infestation, the rat plague sickness, we have the famine, we have the heat, we have. It's that mix that seems to be the perfect storm of Crazy Dance Street,
Sure.
Mix.
It seems to be always that way.
Yeah.
That there's a social stressor of some kind, and then you have the solution, which is often an outlet of emotional and physical discourse.
Yes. I just like how people were like, in the stories, they blamed the Pied Piper for bringing the rats in. Like, he was the reason why the rats were there.
Yeah.
Since he could lead them out so easily. And that's not to say that they weren't brought there by him, but we don't know. It's all about the assumption. And the only child who obviously survives the whole tale of the Pied Piper is the child who was deaf. And then there was a child who was blind. So
two children.
Yes. So because this says this actually says that there were 3 children that depending on the version, there are at most 3 children.
It's always a disability that allows them to get away with it, right?
The lame child, I hate that word, but could not follow quickly enough. Then the deaf child could not hear, and the last was the blind one who was unable to see where he was going. Or where everybody else was going. So that it's one of the 3 or all 3 were left behind. And these 3 were the ones who went to the villagers, and they happened that when they came out of the church, they told all the villagers, because obviously
someone had to be left behind so they could tell the tale.
Because and that's the thing is. And that's the part I kind of skipped over. I glossed over. It was, so he takes the rats out. He wants the money. They say boo to you. And then they go to church.
Yeah.
And leave their kids behind. Okay, it's crazy.
Kids don't belong in church.
Well, here's the thing that kind of, I am not dissing anybody, because the countries that leave their babies out in the prams, sleeping in the cold, bless you. I wish I lived in a country that I felt so comfortable to be able to do something like that. But I don't live in one of those countries. I never have. So the concept of leaving my children behind, and I hate to
or
see
in a car.
and I'm going to use this. This is probably going to give me a lot of shit here too. But when you look at, I forgot her name, but the little girl that was kidnapped in Portugal from the hotel room, her parents went to eat with their friends and left the 2 girls in the hotel room in Portugal.
Yeah, that's insane.
What? That they were babies. My mom leaving me behind at 12 years old at the house is one thing, but leaving me in a hotel room with my baby sister at the ages of 5, 6 or younger, that's some crazy shit right there. So I can't wrap my brain around going to church and leaving my kids at home.
I mean, this is a fictional tale.
It is a fictional tale, but also the time period that it was written in, people probably did those things.
Sure.
So,
but the kids worked for a living.
That is true.
They were basically slaves,
Yeah. So, there's the whole thing of, the children, they don't really know, like, depending on who wrote the story, that they went to Transylvania, or they went to Koppenberg Mountain, which is where, the Piper led them. And supposedly he had the rats drowned, or he just led them away. There's so many different versions, but it's the basic idea of dancing away.
Sure.
And that is my stories of the dancing plagues.
Well, I've got a few plagues that are not about dancing necessarily, but they are very much fascinating, and they're grounded in the type of things that we're talking about now.
Okay.
So the first one I have is actually fairly recent geologically. 1962, the Tanganyika laughter epidemic. Now, this happened in Tanzania, and there were a group of schoolgirls who began laughing uncontrollably. Now, I actually remember hearing about this.
I think I did too.
The, quote, infection spread into the neighboring villages, affecting hundreds and forcing schools to close for like months. Now, this seems to be a textbook case of mass psychogenic illness, or MPI. It wasn't about humor. This was not about something being funny. It was a physical manifestation of highly psychological stress. The region was undergoing massive political strife because they were fighting for their independence.
Yes.
And the students were under intense academic pressure as well. So this laughter was more of a displacement activity than anything else. It was the brain's way of venting internal angst or steam or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things that is so reminiscent of the dancing plague. There's another one, and I like this one. It says Middle Ages, but honestly, everything's the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
They rarely are the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. There's more than just those two.
Well, yeah.
But we have the meowing nuns. Yes. And if you think meowing is something that's only recent, I've got news for you. This is a recycled thing. So in a French convent, a nun inexplicably began to meow like a cat. So soon the entire convent was meowing in unison for several hours every day.
Oh my God.
Terrifying the local village, who thought the nuns were possessed by feline demons. Now, this is a trade. So usually it's the religious figures accusing other people.
I like this.
But now it's the other way around. So it's likely conversion disorder, which is triggered by extreme sensory deprivation, which these nuns would be encountering because they're having to remain silent. And, they're under very strict protocol for what they can do and who they can love.
That must have been very freeing. I'm not speaking, I'm meowing. So that doesn't count. And I get to use my voice that I haven't been able to use in forever. And yes.
Right. So they were being deprived, and the strict discipline of the cloistered life is going to cause that. And in a culture where cats were associated with the devil, the brain kind of selected meowing as like this social way of rebelling.
They should have barked.
Yeah, but meowing is, dogs are seen as
masculine, and cats are seen as feminine. Yeah,
but cats are seen as the devil.
That is true.
And
so are feminine.
Yes, so that was kind of their rebellious nature, and I think that was giving them a psychic release. And good for them, because what else did they have to look forward to in the Middle Ages? True, which is a very big,
and it's funny that we call it the Middle Ages because we're getting very far away from it. It's no longer in the middle.
I know. It's somewhere to the left now. So now we have the West Bank fainting epidemic of 1983.
Wow.
So yes, that's right. We've hit Neon and Madonna. So
and side ponytails.
Yeah, so we're hitting all those things. nearly 1,000 people, mostly teenage girls, so keep that in mind, suddenly suffered from fainting, blurred vision, and nausea. It was initially feared to be a chemical weapon attack, leading to a massive international tension.
Okay.
And so, science-wise, they found a tiny trace of hydrogen sulfide gas, but that was from a latrine. So, that was found at the initial site.
Yeah.
But those levels were nowhere near toxic. And the plague was likely just a social suggestion and media reports.
Mm-hmm.
Once people heard that gas was making girls faint, their own autonomic nervous systems kind of primed by the stress of living in the conflict zone.
Yes.
So they started seeing, it's like seeing ghosts. If one person sees a ghost in this one place, everybody starts seeing the ghost.
And again, I'm not going to defend them because I actually have some major issues with the young girls during the Salem witch trials, but you can say that's very similar where, one was having, the moment of breakdown hallucination and then the hysteria that they all kind of gain, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria type of a thing,
Yeah, in this case, it was just simply fainting, blurred vision, or nausea. So it wasn't really anything other than that. It wasn't like speaking in tongues.
True.
They were just having these symptoms. And I think that is one of those things. It's again, girls, the oppressed children of a society will find ways to, alleviate that stress.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I wonder, I really just now thought of this, but I wonder what the statistics are of poltergeists. So poltergeists are usually blamed on having, being around, they usually manifest around pubescent individuals. Right. And I wonder what the when you look at the category, the catalog of known poltergeist hauntings or incidents, how many of them are girls?
Right, probably quite a bit.
Compared to,
even
boys.
The movie that we did on Cozy Quilt Cinema, it was centered around a little girl.
Yes. Though she's prepubescent. Yes. She was prepubescent, which
Sure.
kind of goes against the whole pubescence, but they were going for her life.
Yeah. They also dragged her into a television.
That is true.
There are some liberties taken.
Through a closet. So, yeah.
So next we have the London Monster Panic. I thought you'd like this. From 1788 to 1790. So for several years.
Wow.
A monster was said to be stalking London, specifically targeting women. Again, we're going after women folk. And poking them with pins or blades before vanishing. It created a citywide panic where men wore monster no badges to avoid being lynched. In other words, they were having to wear these things to say, it's not me that did it.
It's not all men.
That's it. It's not all men. While there was a real culprit, okay, so there was an actual person doing this.
Jack the Ripper?
No. Renwick Williams. Not Remo Williams.
Not Remo.
Who is a good guy, and I love him. But Renwick Williams. The epidemic of the attacks was largely collective delusion. Okay. Because once they start thinking they're being attacked, everybody... So, for instance, because the newspapers at the time, remember newspapers are very much their social media.
Oh, yes.
Once they start reporting the monster...
Everybody's felt
any
seen
woman that tripped or snagged her dress on a nail or felt a pinch in a crowd assumed she'd just been attacked. So now you've got this plague of an essential information virus, which are fueled by the birth of like this tabloid journalism that is cropped up because the printing press and shit like that. So it's become this huge rolling stone in which now social media is so easily obtained and so easily falsified that you could generate a pandemic or a plague by just saying the word. and making it convincing enough, or maybe use AI.
Yes.
It'd be very easy to do it. And that's a real danger.
It really is.
And it always affects the marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be the marginalized who become the victims of these plagues. It's almost never men or white men. It is almost always the women who suffer and the men who have to, quote unquote, save them or curse them.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm trying to get onto a soapbox or anything.
No. But it seems to be a historical trait that we seem to cycle through in and out of constantly. So, yeah, the dancing plagues. Again, it was an interesting trip through history. There's not a lot of woo-woo to it, but there's enough woo-woo to it that makes it kind of, because it's not 100% known what.
So do you feel that it's no supernatural elements to this, or just that it's supernatural in the stories?
I think it's supernatural coded, but it is not supernatural. I think at that
it's lore,
time,
but not supernatural lore.
Yeah, because I think at the time period that these things were happening in the past, in the Middle Ages, then I could see people assuming it was a curse or something supernatural. But knowing that it was one of 5 different things that could have been going on, there's a good chance we just don't know exactly.
Okay, I can't believe I'm going to be the one that does this, but I believe that it actually has some basis in the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Because none of the things we've talked about, none of the science involved is actually science. It's all supposition.
Oh, yeah, because we can't go back and
They
get
don't
blood
know.
tests and check their DNA and
But
cultures.
even then, they didn't know what syphilis actually was.
No.
They couldn't test for it.
No.
They definitely couldn't verify that it was syphilis or any
We're
of the
assuming.
other things.
Yeah.
But here's my take on this, is that if you get enough people in one place that believe one thing to their core, that is focusing intent
Mm-hmm.
in a group of people, that is spellcasting.
True.
And I honestly think that that is enough to generate even more things that happen.
Unintentional intention.
Sure.
And maybe not creating a creature of sorts like a tulpa, but tulpa-like.
Yeah, at least an entity. We're talking like maybe non-corporeal,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that in these cases, it's not just about releasing tension, but maybe you're expelling that spirit.
Maybe.
The spirit of what's causing this for you. Almost everything is emotion based in some way for us. As human beings, we are based in emotion. Spellcasting is no different.
True.
We focus our emotions. We use those emotions to power those spells. And again, can't believe I'm the one that's saying this, but I think that every one of these has just as much viability as being supernatural as it does being based in science, because both are acting on supposition alone.
And the fact that it keeps happening. So whether we're aware of it happening or not, it keeps happening. Something is causing it. So usually when you see something supernatural like that seems to be cyclic. It has these cycles of on and off. There's something that's triggering it. There's usually a season, a plague or something to cause something to wake up. And we talked about, the Appalachian Mountains. There are things here that come out only certain times because they're triggered, seeing the lights and seeing,
most definitely.
So it could be triggered in that sense, but it's more of an internal, individual thing in a mass way than it being something external on a singular person.
Yeah, I think that's true. And so I believe that these curses or these plagues, whatever you want to call them, whether they're based in a religious aspect or not, have some aspect of supernatural, that cannot be just discounted because you say science.
Oh, yeah.
Because saying that this usually, like the St. Vitus's dance usually follows Streptococcus, doesn't mean that it is.
No.
We have no way of knowing that it did.
No. We
only know that it follows those kinds of things, but also magic could account for that as well in just the same way. You can say, well, if I did this spell, it would cause jerky movements.
Yes.
So I think there's plenty of basis for either or a mix of both. Because remember, magic is just science unexplained.
So here's how I want to end this. With that theory, instead of doing, fuck that one guy with my magic.
In particular.
This is fuck everybody within a group. And with that thought in mind, I want to know what the spell is. I have some people I want to go and inflict some dance moves on.
That would be nice to see ice dancing.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, dancing to exhaustion and or the end.
I will DJ that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly fine bringing out a curse for that. That would be fine with me. So that is the Dancing Plagues.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Nabisco. We're not. We don't.
No, we are
Nabisco.
unaffiliated. We do not have any.
No, Nabisco does not know about this. Please do not buy Nabisco because I don't even know what they sell anymore. Probably lawn furniture.
I think the graham crackers that I eat all the time.
Do they?
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't remember. Okay, so this has been Folkloric. If you liked what you heard and you have a tale or two that you want to share, not just about today's topic, but any old topic, scary story that you would like to hear us talk about, send us an email at folkloricpod@gmail.com or join us on Instagram and Blue Sky at Folkloric Podcast. Please make sure to follow and subscribe to Folkloric wherever you listen to podcasts, and don't forget to check out our other podcast, The Cozy Quilt Cinema. Bye, guys.
Bye.